Good morning, stampers and crafters. Welcome to Tina's Crafty Ink Spot. I'm Tina, and this is kind of a impromptu little video that I promised a lot of people I'd put together. I did a poll the other day, and thank you for the overwhelming response to it. It was very flattering, very kind. Um, what I did a poll on was which one of these did you like better? Did you think this daylight one needed a tree line? It was really uh, fun to do because what we're going to do today is I'm going to take all of your suggestions and put it into one card. So the poll, majority of people liked this one. This was just my plain and simple, but thought maybe a tree line might be in order there, put some trees in the background. So I did that on this one, but I did a night scene and the trees and our little cabin. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to do a day scene. I'm going to add some trees and I'm going to show you how I made this simple little walkway and the tiny little fence. When I originally did it, it just seemed like it needed, a little welcome to my home sort of uh, entrance into this image. So let's jump in and we are going to create this one, but we're going to add a tree line and then I'll show you this really simple sponging, and that is all this card really is. And you can do it. I know it. So let's do it. So what we're going to do, I'm going to set those aside. And what I have is I have my A2 card base, just white. I was trying to keep this very simple. This is a mat of Pacific Point, which is 4 by 5 1/4. And then we have our image piece, which is 3 3/4 by 5. So to start with, when I do these, is I try to figure out, where I want my focal point of my card. Well, obviously, our little cabin is going to be our focal point. So I'm going to bring in the Stamparatus, and we are using 2 sets today. We're using Rustic Retreat. I want this adorable little cabin, and I love the greeting of this warmest winter wishes from the new Freescape. I'll have linked to these in the video description. So I'm going to take out my greeting because we need to kind of lay out where everything's going to be. Let's get us lined up in here. So we know that our greeting's going to go closest to the bottom. I kind of want it centered. You can offset it. You can do what you like with it. Now I want my cabin to be my focal, so that's kind of going to go in the middle. And I got to remember I'm going to have a little bit of a horizon here and my little walkway. So let's move this up just a hair. And I can take this one away for now. And let's stamp our cabin. Now, I stamped instead of black, I'm going to use smoky slate. Reason being, I wanted it to be more subtle and kind of just the real cabin look, and let my coloring do the detail of this cabin instead of having the black lines and things in there. And it'll also make your smoke and your fireplace kind of stand out. So we're just going to use some smoky slate here. So add our cabin. And while I've got that on the stamper, I'm going to put a sticky note over this, and my sticky part is going to be right where the smoke is here, because I need a little tiny mask for my smoke. You don't have to do that part. You can always use your white gel pen afterward, but I'm kind of a attention to detail kind of girl. So see how the smoke goes up into the skyline here and it's nice and white? I did the same here. You may not even notice that. Some people will, some people won't. But let's kind of do a little attention to detail there. Now this is just a little bit of fussy cutting. Or you can do like I've showed you in my previous videos. I have masking fluid. You can also use masking fluid on this. It's probably faster than fussy cutting. But let me see what I do. Let's see if we can fussy cut this just a little bit. It doesn't have to be perfect because you're going to hit it with a white gel pen anyway. So I'm just getting the basic part of the smoke here. A lot of people aren't going to like this part, but you know, like I said, if not, I'm much quicker with my masking fluid, but I wanted to show you how to do it if you didn't have masking fluid. And it doesn't have to be perfect, so I'm just going to set this. As a matter of fact, it's nowhere close to perfect, but I just want the majority of it to stay white. Oh, and our magnet stuck to our scissors. Good job. It's early here. It's like really early here right now. Like my husband's asleep and even my little fur babies aren't even awake yet. All right, so we have the majority of that masked. It's just to keep the sponging away. So now you're going to take another post-it note or a masking sheet, and you're going to create your background snowbank. So to do that, all I do is take a piece of paper and just cut kind of a little, just a little swoopy. It doesn't have to be perfect by any means. And I wanted my snow to be up in the sky, remember? So we're just going to go a little. Okay, I've got a little bit too much of a swoopy right here. So I'm going to trim it a little. I just want a really subtle. Okay, I'm going to move us off of our stamparatus. That'll be easier. My paper's all crumpled up here. So I'll zoom in a little bit for you. So you figure out where you want your horizon bank to be. I don't want anything really dramatic as far as a hill, so I trim that down a little bit. So we've got our snow, or I mean our smoke. I'm going to put our masking there. Now I'm just going to use, there's what, 3 colors that are being used in this whole card, other than your Stampin' blends that are going to color the cabin. We have Pacific Point, and we have Balmy Blue. I love Balmy Blue for snowbanks. It seems to be just the perfect blue. And I just have my sponge daubers. I'm going to make sure I'm using the right. I label mine so I know what they are. Now, we're going to do our snowbank and our sun. Or I mean, our sky. So I want to start with my lightest color, which is my balmy blue, and just like a regular sponge, come off your paper and just kind of sweep. Your darkest areas are going to be your corners and your edges. Okay, my paper moved a little. So I'm going off the paper, and to create the kind of cloudy effect, when you go across it in swipes, it actually will automatically create, and really lightly here on your horizon. So we're doing a day scene, so it's not going to be really dark or dramatic. If you didn't mask your little smoke, just try not to put a lot of ink on it. Your white gel pen will work better if you don't have a lot of ink on it. So I want to blend that in and just do it in kind of a light circular motion. It'll blend that ink. Okay, I'm going to bring in just a little bit of Pacific Point. And again, your darker areas are going to be on your corners. So let's swipe just a little bit there on the corners and the edge. Start off your paper to keep yourself from getting big splotches when you're sponging. Kind of keep a steady pressure. And then when it's almost dry, see there's hardly anything even coming off that, I'm just going to do a light circular motion to blend any lines. See there? And it kind of looks like a little cloudy because you have a little bit of color variance there. Okay, now while our mask is in place, we're going to bring in our trees. And on this one, I did the trees in black, but I think what I want to try is to do them in Pacific Point, which is our matte. And I think it'll be dark enough for this to work. I'm going to grab my Pacific Point Stampin' Right marker, and we're going to fill in those trees. So our tree line is right here on the stamp set. Oh, and I did need, well, we're going to do it without the Stamparatus. Now, if you look on this, there's a dark area underneath these trees. I'm actually going to try not to get as much of that as is there. You can, it's not going to hurt it, but I've already got my horizon, so I don't really need that. All I need is the tops of some trees. So I'm kind of just eyeballing my stamp, and I forgot my stamp block. Imagine that. I'm so used to using my Stamparatus, I rarely use my blocks. And I moved my mask too. So we're going to ink that up. I get nervous when I stamp with a block and not my Stamparatus because I need to get it right the first time. So I'm trying not to go into my smoke. There we go. I missed one tree, so I'm just going to add another one right about there. And then you can, if you want, you can have, you know, a stamped background set, but we're just going to go with this. And I'm going to add a few trees right here on this other horizon. See? I do need a tall tree here, I think. So I'm just going to use a portion of the stamp and eyeball it in there. There we go. Now I want to take my Pacific Point, which this step you don't need to do. You can leave it exactly the way it is. But I'm going to color in my trees. Let's move our mask. I want them solid. So I'm just taking my Stampin' Right marker and coloring in those trees. It would probably look fine just the way it is. So this is where it would be your preference of what you would like it to look like. Did I just have my head right in the middle of that screenshot? Sorry about that. I forget the camera's above me and I get close in to do detailed work and you usually get to see the crown of my head. I'm still new at making videos. That's just partly why I don't go live. I have a small brain to mouth filter problem sometimes. So I'm just going to add a light line right there. There we go. We've already got our trees done. So at this point, you can actually pull up your mask. Let's see how just that little bit of the smoke being white into this horizon. It's just a special little detail, I think. Alright, so to make our snowbanks, we're going to go back to our balmy blue. And we're going to add a few random snowbanks. So what you want to do is take the mask that you had, and you're going to go into your ink. Make sure you dab it off in case your ink pad is very inky, and then just lightly dab right above that paper. Just a little bit. You're just adding a shadow. So you're mainly more on the paper than you are your project. See how it adds a little shadowed snowbank? And you just do a few of them randomly. Let's put one over here. Now I'm going to want some around the house because it's going to be a, they've had to shovel or there's piles of snow there. So I'm just do a little bit right there around the house. And we can touch that up more when we're done doing our house, coloring it. And now, the part everybody was really curious about was my little pathway. So we're going to cheat. I'm going to bring in a pencil because I can erase it. We're going to figure out where our greeting goes. Our greeting's about right there. So I want my fence to probably end, let's go up a little from the other one. So let's say it's going to be about right here. Okay, just put a little mark. See if I can zoom in a little for you on here. So all I did is put a tiny little mark, figure out where I want my path, and I'm just going to lightly draw it with pencil. This is just to give me an idea where to sponge. So there's our little path. Can you see those? It's just super light, just enough so you can see. Then we're going to take our mask and we're going to go right on that line right there. Now, it doesn't have to be perfect because it's snow and it's piled up. Let's do this walkway. Now I'm just feathering it out a little bit. I even got a little heavy-handed on that part right there, but it's just a snowbank, so it doesn't have to be perfect. We're going to add little bits of detail to it later. Okay. Add another little, let's have a little hill of snow here. Maybe one on this side. Just some random little snowbanks. Okay, so now for the house, and then I'll show you the fence. We're going to do that last. Let's go ahead. Let's gonna color our trees, and I am using the dark old olive. And then while this is drying, we'll do our fence. Let's color in our trees. We're gonna have snow on these trees, so I hope everybody's loving the new holiday catalog. Oh, I'm just having a ball with it. This is not from the holiday catalog. Actually, this Rustic Retreat is from the annual catalog. Okay, we got our trees. I will speed this up, but I'm going to show you really quick how I made the fireplace look so 3D. Is that focusing on there? But our stone on our fireplace is kind of looking 3D. I want to show you how I did that. We are going to bring in, this is the light and the dark smoky slate. And remember how I told you all of our stamps, Stampin' Up! Stamps, they put marks or where your darker highlights are going to go. So if you look really close at this little fireplace, there's some little dots on the rocks. And so like all of their stamps, they kind of show you where your darker highlights should be. So we're going to do that. So I'm going to take my dark and my small tip. Now I know that the side of the fireplace here, which is shaded darker, because the shade of the house is on it. So we're going to put the dark on the side of it. And now I'm just going to add a few dots of dark where you see them on the image. Now we'll color it in with our light smoky slate. That'll blend this a little. It's a really small space, but as you see, you can get it to show detail. Okay, we've blended that in. Now that doesn't look like much, right? Now you bring in your color lifter, go to your dot, and right randomly on those rocks, usually kind of near where the dark spots are, just touch your marker to those stones, and it's going to lift. Kind of do it randomly because some of the stones are dark, some are light. Now when you use your color lifter, it may not lift it right away, so let it set and you can go back to it. So I'm adding a couple in that dark shaded area. See how quickly that made it 3D? Isn't that amazing? So let's let that dry because that'll continue to lift while it's wet. So now for our house, I'm just using soft suede, light and dark. And so we're going to start, you know, everybody does this a little different. So if you like to do light first, then your dark, that's perfectly fine. So we know that right under the edge of the roof here, we've got some dark. That's where your lines are darker on the cabin. And you've got the shadow of the roof. So we're going to go ahead and hit that. Maybe right here next to the fireplace. Maybe over here where the fireplace is shadowing half the house. And I'm going to go ahead and do my window frames in dark. When you have such a very small piece that you're coloring with these, barely touch your paper because get used to how your blends bleed. So if you held it down, you're going to have a big spot. If you lightly touch it, touch in the middle of the item you are trying to color and let this will bleed outward. So like these window frames, I colored in the middle of the window frame, didn't try to go to the edges or anything like that. I let the pen do the work. Okay. So we've got our shadows, a little shadow there. Oh, forgot our little balcony room. You know that's shadowed underneath that piece of roof. Then we'll bring in our soft suede, our light soft suede, and color in the rest. Be sure to go up into your where you did your dark highlights, and that'll bleed that out and make it blend. blend that corner real well. So it kind of looks like the corner of the house. See how when the fireplace is drying after you've put those little dots on there? It just makes all the difference. Okay, let's have a warm fire going inside, and I'm just going to use a little bit of Mango Melody in these windows. Okay. Now we don't have to worry about coloring the roof because we're going to put snow there. We're going to have a snow-covered roof. So now, down to the fence. I have my Stampin' Right marker, soft suede. I'm going to take the fine tip edge. I'm figuring I want my fence to be kind of, you know how you go into an entry of a space? So that's going to make my longer sticks. And this is a wood tree fence, so it doesn't have to be straight or anything. So I'm going to add a post there. Add a little bit shorter post there. We're going to go down a little bit. And then this one. Let's do the same on this side. And now just draw between the posts, kind of in a little bit of an angle. Like I said, it's a tree fence, so it doesn't have to be perfect. We're going to put a little bit of snow on top of this fence, so it'll look fine. There you go, you have your entry fence. Isn't that fun? Kind of welcomes you into the house. So now the fun part. Let's do some snow. Okay, I have the new Stampin' Up! Snowfall Accent Puff Paint. Love this stuff. Love. But I'm going to show you the tip on this. Let me move out just a little. The tip on this is fairly large. So for me, it's harder to control where the snow goes. So I have an old paintbrush, just a small, matter of fact, it's even hard from doing this, just an old small tipped paintbrush. And I'm going to put a, let me shake that up a little bit. I should have shook it before I took the lid off. Now a little bit of this puff paint goes a long way. So let's put just a little bit here to work with. And then I can pick it up and work it in detail. So I'm just picking it up and I'm dabbing it on my roof where I want it. I'm even kind of doing little tiny, like the snow is dripping off the roof a little bit. Start light with your puff paint because you can always add more of this stuff. But once it heats up, it's a lot. So we're just covering our roof. And now for your trees, you just want a few spots. So let's just add kind of a few little line spots. Or if you have a paintbrush like I do, I'm just touching it and it adds my lines. Now we're going to go, pardon me, right along the bottom of the house here. That'll be where the snow's been falling off the roof of the house. And we're going to go to the edge of our walkway here. And we're going to go around the corner of the walkway just a little bit there. That's all we need to do. So somebody got out there and plowed the snow. Under this one. Go where it goes around the driveway here. Walkway, driveway. Okay, now I want to put just a couple little tiny drops on the fence. Just go right on like the railings. And it's very little because remember this puff paint goes a long way. It's not even going to look like you have any on there hardly. And I'm going to put some right at the base of that first post. Or at the base of the post there. It's where the snow's been falling off the fence. Very little. Doesn't need a lot. Okay, now let's heat set it. Let's see if I brought my heat tool over. I'm gonna let my heat gun warm up. Let your heat gun warm up fairly well when you're using this puff paint. You'll find it works better. See, I missed part of my tree where I'm waiting for my gun to warm up. Now we're just gonna heat it and set it. See if I can get this up where you can see it start to activate. I gotta set it down, it's warm. It takes a little bit for this puff paint to go. Okay, there we go. Now that doesn't look like much, but you know what? We're bringing in our Winkostella. And we're going to take our Winkostella along. Oh, my Winkostella is leaking. Oh my. That's not good. Alright, hold on. We had a craft fair bomb here. It dripped on my sheet. I must have this stored wrong. Let me grab a different one. Well, I don't think we killed the project, but we got a big blob there. Let's see if this one's working better. Okay, so we're going to take our Winkostella, and since there's alcohol in this Winkostella, if you go right along the edge of your tree line here, it will kind of blend it. This gives it kind of a blended look. And the same when you go on your snowbanks. It's going to take that little bit of sponging and it's going to kind of blend it. I'm going to put a little on our walkway here. And now we want to have Winkostella on our snow. This one's almost empty. So I'm just putting it directly onto the puff paint. I have feast or famine. I have one that's really working and I have one that's not. Guess it's time to get a new Inca Stella. Oh, I did hear a trick you can do with these though. When you think they're empty, just add a couple drops of rubbing alcohol to them, shake them up, and you can get some more life out of them. There's my frugal crafter tip of the day. So I'm just getting some of this. Oh, I spilled it everywhere. Maybe I can just pick it up off there. Getting my snow. Hit my little snow on my fence. Okay, you get the gist. There you go. So now let's bring in our Stamparatus, add our greeting. Now I always use my Stamparatus, especially when it comes time to do your greetings and stuff. You don't want to do all this work and then stamp something wrong. Pull this down. We're going to add our warmest winter wishes. I want it right below our walkway. I'm going to do that in Pacific Point also, and that way it'll coordinate with the trees. The reason I let mine set when I stamp, when you're set your stamp down, whether you're using a Stamparatus or a stamping block, when you hold it down for a second, it gives your ink a chance to transfer. You know, it gives it a chance to soak in and transfer to your paper. So that's why I kind of, hold mine for a second. Gives it that chance. Y'all probably know that, but another tip of the day. Okay, look what we have here. We have our fun little, set that aside. And let's grab our card base. And now from heating that, see how it's a little bit warped? Just make sure you go to your corner edges. What about this one? There you go, you guys. We have created the best of two. Came out with kind of our happy medium. So we've got today's. We've got the first day. This was our first one. And then we have our night scene. On this night scene, I used the same blues, but I took a little sponge dauber of Flirty Flamingo and just kind of sponged some night colorful swipes in there. So there you go. There's all three. Now, you guys can do this. I got a lot of messages of people that, oh no, I can't do it. You saw it's merely just some masking and sponging, a little bit of color, add some detail by adding yourself some snow. There you go. I hope you enjoyed today's tutorial, and thank you again for playing along. I really enjoyed talking to many of you. Have a happy Stampin' Day. Bye-bye now.